This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to the Masai Mara, or at least welcome to the gate of the Masai Mara, because it's not open yet. So this is going to be the most profound start to your live safari that you ever did experience. Although I think we have experienced others in the past. I just see Brent sitting in front of me. He's poking his head round the other side of his door. I don't know what he's doing. Good morning. Brent is terribly offended. There he is. Brent is terribly offended that Kirsty didn't start with him because he's got a slightly better view. We have the view of the back of his vehicle. Good morning and welcome to the Masai Mara of Kenya. We're going to be taking you on a live safari very shortly when the guy with the keys arrives to let us through the gate. Please send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. Alternatively, you can send through your questions in the comments section of YouTube. We will, of course, be joined by Mr. Henry on bushwalk from Djuma in South Africa. However, it is still too dark for him to... Oh, I can hear the car. All right. Since Brent has complained so much, I think we should send you across to his vehicle so he can say good morning and show you the view.
Well, there we go. As you can see, we're looking out over the magnificent Masai Mara. We are still, unfortunately, right on top of the escarpment. You can see the boom gate there. Good morning, my name is Brent Smith, and I have the incredible Archie on camera with me today. And we're going to be heading down to the bottom to see what wonders await shortly. Because I hear a vehicle, it means that Peter has arrived. Now, the last time I was at the gate and Peter was a little late, he tried to blame climate change. So let's see what excuses he comes up with today. Haraka raka kidogo tafadhali. So we are live at the moment. Haraka raka tafadhali. So and Peter's very chatty. He keeps talking constantly, even when you are in a rush. So hopefully the gate should be open shortly. And remember, this is 100% live, so send through your questions on #SafariLive. Let's send you back live to Jamie behind me.
Right, good morning. Meet Peter. Peter opens the gate for us. And Peter likes to chat in the morning. Unfortunately, we don't have time to chat to Peter this morning. Asante sana. Peter, we are still live. Sawa, asante sana. Well, that was inevitable at some point. We've managed to get away with it so far. Today we did not. Alrighty. I'm terribly sorry, Kirst. I didn't hear Kuzefa's question. Is what dangerous to the guides and tourists? Is that park sign dangerous to the guides and tourists? I don't think so. I mean, unless you sort of trip and fall into it over the rocks, in which case, you know, probably not occupiers' liability there. No, the sign is not dangerous. However, it does welcome you to the beautiful Mara Conservancy. And here we are. I can't go any further down the hill because I lose signal. So I will stop here and hope there's no one behind me. There's a good chance that Peter might follow us down to have a chat, but we will continue on. Here we go. Isn't that beautiful? Once again, we start with a sunrise over the Mara Triangle before I begin a mad dash to Waffles' den. Okay, everybody's saying hello to Peter. I will pass on your messages when we return back through the gate at the end of the morning safari. It is my last morning in the Mara for a while. I mean, obviously there's tomorrow morning, but I leave at 4. to get to the airport in time for my flight, fingers crossed. So this is my very last morning. I find myself looking at it with new eyes. I'll even appreciate the wind today. Maybe. Maybe not. It is definitely, by far and away, one of the most beautiful places I have ever had the privilege of working in and living in. Right, I need to get down the hill. Brent's already managed it. He's found you some giraffe. Off you... Oh, no, he hasn't. He's still on the hill. Okay, off you go to him. He's found you some giraffe.
Well, as we're on our way down, we've got some giraffe heading right up one of the steepest sections of the hill. Looking down, and we did hear some lions roaring not far from here, somewhere just below us. And we have a nice group of buffalo as well. These buffalo bulls are really, really fond of the valleys and the high grasses up here, and they do visit our camp from time to time. I thought I'd stop and listen for a second, see if those lions roared again. And one lone buffalo cow amongst the boys. Oh dear, did you get lost? Ah no, I see the rest of the herd lower down the hill. Okay, well let's keep it trundling down the hill. Jamie's about to meet those giraffe that are about to cross the road where she is. Okay. So, I think our friend Peter at the gate, he got confused between climate change and change of seasons when the sun comes up earlier. It doesn't change much in the Mara. There's only about 20 minutes, half an hour difference throughout the year, and that's because we are so close to the equator. We're now having a stare down with the buffalo bull. Oh, he looks like a particularly old chap. Broken tips to his horns. Michael, hello.
All right, there was a certain inevitability to that. We do know that just as we wander round this corner, our repeater is all the way over there on South Camp of Angama. There is a little bit of a, what would you call it, a dead zone for our signal. So there goes Brent, he's passing through the dead zone. And once he reaches the Out of Africa viewpoint, named of course for the film. This is where it was filmed. Oh, that's beautiful. Nice. The giraffe framed that really well. No, don't stop there. You're meant to go all the way out of frame. Oh. What are you doing? Where are you going? What have you seen? I have no idea. No, you can't Well, we're going to follow the giraffe. You can't stop in the dead zone, Brenty. That doesn't help anyone. Oh, great. Apparently Brent has stopped to take a photograph of me. That's all right. I'll just sit here with my right leg shaking on the brake because I don't really trust the gears of the car to hold us on this incredibly steep hill. It's one thing we're always very cautious of with the giraffe, the zebra, the buffalo. For some reason, they absolutely adore this road. But it's very dangerous for them because it comes with decidedly steep sides on either end. And we're always very cautious to make sure we go slowly so that we don't frighten the animals and cause them to trip and fall. Okay, as the giraffe pass by beyond our reach, you can enjoy some more beautiful views. We're going to send you down to Mr. Leo Smith, who has found some signal.
Well, we are just below Jamie, and as Archie zooms out, you'll see how steep the hill these elephants are on at the moment. Another quite regular visitor to our camp, And you'll get to see Jamie shortly as well as those giraffe way up there. I think they're a little bit to the right. Oh no, there they are. Oof, they're so small, so tiny. There's Jamie driving off, the giraffe carrying on. And as I say, with the buffalo, the giraffe come to the camp, but not as regularly. You can actually see our camp from where we're sitting at the moment. Well, you can see Final Control in the studio. Might be able to get a view of one of the tents. There's Final Control and the studio, and then just off to the right, you can see some of the tents hidden up on the hillside. Kirsten is lying. Kirsten McLennan-Smith says she's waving from the Final Control studio. Kirsten McLennan-Smith is in Djuma. Kirsten McLennan-Smith is a redhead, so she lies. We can't help that. It's just the way it is. She says she's still waving from Djuma. Okay, Kirsty. Okay, let's keep going down the hill. Now there's some... It's always wonderful at this time of the morning as you come down the hill. The sun's rising. There's almost always quite a lot of game around this area. Now Michael was asking about the snared hyena and if we had an update. Michael, I do have an update. What on earth is that now, Archie? We're hill spotting today. So directly opposite me, the vet for this area, unfortunately, was in Nairobi. He's back today. Where is that? I can come out a bit, Arch. And that, I'm just trying to figure out from the tree. So a little bit to the left, about center frame there. What do we got there? There you go, up a little. Waterbuck on the hill. So we're doing long distance spotting today on the Olololo escarpment. Now I was quite hoping, for the last couple of mornings we've seen mountain reedbuck around here, but they weren't around this morning. James Henry would like to know where is my tablecloth. James Henry, my tablecloth is here. It, however, is not as cold this morning, so my tablecloth is acting as a dust cover for my camera. And James Henry, I dare you, when you're back in Kenya, to tell a Maasai man he's wearing a tablecloth. We'll see how that ends, probably with James Henry on the end of a lion's spear. Yeah, well, Jamie's zooting off that way. We'll go down this way. This is where the lions were roaring, somewhere around here. So we know those 3 Olololo lionesses have sort of taken over that area around 50 kilometer. Now, I just want to see if the rest of the pride have moved back into their traditional grounds and whether the split between the main Olololos and those 3 might become a little bit more permanent, or they are just being lazy and don't want to stay.
Sorry about that, everyone. It seems as though Brent's signal was not coping with his position, but that's okay because I've leapfrogged him. Leapfrogged him? Leaped. I went past him, and we're now ahead of him for once. Don't think it'll last very long. Very seldom does with Brent. And we're coming upon a very large, very sleepy herd of buffalo. Good morning, Flows. This is going to be very pretty. Very, very pretty. In the golden light. You can't beat the Mara morning and evening light. This is quite honestly some of the most... Oh, it's just beautiful. I'm just going to wax lyrical about the Mara today. As I drive through a puddle of runny buffalo dung. Morning, Flows. How was your night? I heard the lions roaring very close to you. Might actually have been a slightly terrifying night. Doesn't look like it, though. They all look very calm and relaxed. Looking at us with a standard buffalo expression. Look at all of them. We're having a bit of a lion this morning. Better than having a lion. Ha 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 ha. Manu thought it was funny. Even for me, that was a stretch. Lynn, it's an interesting thing. I think that they do, yes. So Lynn's wanting to know, do the animals feel a little bit safer from the predators if they go up onto the escarpment? And I think that to a degree they do. Obviously, there's no fences between the Masai Mara itself, the triangle or the National Reserve, and the surrounding areas. So lions, hyenas, leopards, they will all wander up, but they're not as common up at the top of the escarpment. Even at night, obviously, they've still got an ingrained sense of fear when it comes to human habitation. So I do think that the animals go up towards the escarpment. The grass is shorter, which also helps, means that they can keep an eye on their surroundings without being caught out by a predator. I have done a very foolish thing and parked in the middle of the road. I'm sorry. I'm not moving from the beautiful scene. I just have to move off the side of the road. I mean, onto the side of the road. Good morning, Mr. Buffalo. You are enormous. My goodness. Let's try and get Manu slightly more even. There we go. So that he doesn't have to fight the horizon. Morning! There we go. Marvellous. Many, many weeks ago, on my way home, we discovered a brand new buffalo calf. I mean, it was still wobbly on its legs and still wet in exactly this spot. And I suspect it was the same buffalo herd. So somewhere in here, hopefully, that little calf has now grown up big and strong. I couldn't for the life of me tell you when that was. It must have been sometime at the beginning of the year. So that little one would be a little bit too small. Time to get up and face the day. It's a nice time of year to be a buffalo. Plenty of fresh green grass to eat, and the predators, by and large, distracted by the migration. A buffalo is a big and dangerous animal, and predators won't tackle it unless they have to. Unfortunately for this herd, the migration hasn't arrived in this corner of the Mara Triangle at all. Well, just watch these two bulls here, Manu. These ones here, making a racket. What's up, guys? You're grumpy this morning. Are you ever not grumpy? They were having a little bit of a set too. They appear to have calmed themselves, though. Hello, big girl. Look, I think she's blind in that eye. That's why she's walked up to us like this. Oh, no, maybe not. Maybe it's just catching the light strangely. No, she's fine. It just looks a bit bluish when she was standing staring at us. And she is an old girl. You can see she's starting to lose condition. Jason, yes, I have in the past been concerned about grumpy buffalo. There's some herds that you have to keep a close eye on. I've actually been chased by one or two. Particularly if you go towards the border, they are not as accustomed to vehicles, to safari vehicles, and you have to give them a bit of extra space. Or when they've been chased by lions or hyenas, they do become slightly more dangerous. Generally, a herd is absolutely fine. It's the big males that you have to keep an eye on. That is stunning. Oh, there's light. So yes, we do. We keep a very close eye on the buffalo, because recently there was even a video with the buffalo charging a vehicle. It does happen. Right, Mr. Leo Smith has got some feathered friends. Let's go to him quickly before they fly away.
Well, I've decided, Archie and I had a discussion that we've been chasing big cats so much and we haven't done a proper birding morning. So I think it's a birding morning for us. So here is our first bird species of the morn. That's sooty chat. And our second bird species, which is one you might not see as often, another grassland species, and this one is going to be a good test for our birders. Look at him wobble, wobble, wobble. Look at that, the colour of his legs and the very distinct eye stripe, but also quite mottled colouring, quite a white throat. Kirsten says it's an LBJ. Yes, thank you, Kirsten. We are well aware of that. You are not a birder. So who can tell me what bird that little guy is there? Oh, look at that. It popped up the giveaway sign. For a second there. And a lot of them are able to do that, but you need to look at the leg colour. Is going to be one of the more obvious standouts of this bird. If you know what bird this is, hashtag SafariLive if you know it. This is Smokey says, is it a fat sparrow? No, it is not a fat sparrow. So the leg colour is the giveaway, as well as that prominent eye stripe. But the thing that differentiates it from the closest other bird that looks like it is the leg colour. So that's all the hints you're getting. So I actually haven't been down to the marsh in months, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to head down to the marsh, maybe go have a look at that jackal den that Jamie found. Maybe the little jacklets will be a little bit more feisty in the morning than they were last night. And if we happen to stumble upon a big cat or three, well done, Zephyr. You are definitely a twitcher. Zephyr says he knows it's not an ostrich. Well done, Zephyr. Well done. Well, part of the thing about birding is definitely knowing what it's not. Safari Dean, it is not a white-throated bushshrike. So in the... it disappeared now behind a little stick. But we've got another bird. Yes, there we go. A nice, easier one for our bird list. There we go. It's a ring-necked dove. There we go. See the one's popped up again? I just wanted to double check. To the top of the salt lick. It's gone behind grass again. It's flown away. Okay, we'll have to look for that one again down the road. Oh, we've got another one in the road right in front of us. Two, in fact. Now, let's have a look. Again, leg colour. It's the same bird we were looking at a little bit earlier. It's the leg colour that you're looking at. I can hear a jackal alarm calling in the distance as well. And there's another one in the grass. Probably the same species, probably a pair. Oh, we've got it's gone into the long grass there. We've got a bunch of comedians around today. Fancy Cheetah says, is it a crested franklin? No, it is not. It's definitely not crested franklin. Okay, let's move on. What is that in the middle of the road down there? Is that a lion? Or is that... What is that? I mean, so busy looking at birds. I don't think it's a lion, I think it's a rock. But let's just get a close...
Oh, hello everybody. That was a rather sudden greeting that I had to give you because Brent lost signal. It must be his absence of tablecloth. My name is James Henry and it is blowing something of a gale from the southeast today here in the Western Kruger National Park. I am on foot again. Yes, again, that's what I said. Some of you are astounded that I'm on foot again, but here it is. And this will be the last drive that I'm on my own here at Djuma. We will have Taylor back as of this evening, and so you will have lots to look forward to there. Then Sydney will be back tomorrow. We're going to go down towards where Tundi was seen late yesterday evening, around about 7:30ish, and we'll see if we can find her there. We'll see what else we can find on the way as well. Signs of spring, antelope, anything that is blowing in this rather dreadful gale that is going to make life very chilly for us all day. It was a fairly noisy evening. We had a little bit of rain, probably about 4 or 5 millimeters or so, and that's probably not going to be enough to turn anything green, but it is an encouraging reminder of the coming wet season. Also, there was some alarm barking of nyalas and things around the camp, so clearly the predators taking advantage of these conditions. This is a cold front that has come up apparently all the way from the Cape, and that's why it is getting a little wet and blustery. We shan't mind too much. Victoria, I am wearing pants, I think. I don't think I've ever gone on a walk without my pants on, have I? Have I assume you mean long pants. Yes, I do sometimes. I don't wear them here because I hate walking in long pants. I'm not sure why, I just always have. It's not because I'm trying to be very tough, because I'm not very tough at all. In the vehicles, I have a blanket over my legs, and so I haven't really seen the need for long pants. But yes, I do have a pair. And if I go to a formal occasion, I'll wear long pants. Or out in the evening. Let's have a look at these birds. We've got some starlings. Well, they're all over the ground there, Senzor. Senzor is on camera this morning. Yet again, the long-suffering Senzor is working with me. And, of course, the magnificent Herbert Causer is walking security and providing us with his serious bush skills today. The sun has yet to come up, and I'm not sure that we're going to see anything resembling a sunrise today. It's almost better to be on foot on a day like this than in a car, because at least you can warm up a bit while you're going. In a vehicle you just get colder and colder, because the temperature is not going to rise from its current position, sitting probably somewhere around 16 degrees, 61 Fahrenheit, with this wind blowing like it is. Let's just have a look at this piece of bare ground. Now, what's interesting here, I think, is that if you were to take this piece of bare ground, you'd think to yourself, how will that piece of ground ever actually sustain some form of life? And the answer is that there is an enormous seed repository. And what should we call it? It's not a seed, I guess it is a seed bed if you like. But there is a tremendous amount of grass seed in the soil. So all it takes is a little bit of fertilizer and a bit of water, and new grass plants will come out of this area. And during the drought of 2 years ago, remember we had a dreadful drought 2 years ago, this place had not one plant on it. It was a complete dust bowl. And it wouldn't surprise me were it to go that far this year as well. And quite astonishingly, as soon as there was about an inch of rain, the grass started to come out of this repository of seed, the seed bank. Most impressive, I think. Good. Let us continue. Whew. Not much colour in the sky, but a lot of blowing clouds. Meme, I'm going to go to the Mara probably at the end of October, I think. I'm going to go on leave in about a week's time, and when I come back, I'll come back here for a little while and then go to the Mara. That's the general idea. Things around this place change more often than most people change their underpants, and so that might change in the next 3 minutes, I'm not sure. Oh great, we've now lost the Mara yet again, and so you're going to be stuck with me. Let's see if we can't find you a piece of biology rather than just some waffling. Ah, let's have a look here. This is the home of a rodent, and unfortunately I think this one is not occupied. You can see there that there are, I'm not sure if you can see, but there are some spiders' webs, some cobwebs across the entrance, and there's also a little bit of detritus on the entrance ramp. But that is the home of something probably like a bushveld gerbil. Now, we tend to call every little rodent that we see running along here a bushveld gerbil, but I suspect you'll probably find there are about 20 species of little rodents, excluding the porcupine and the squirrel, of course. So little mouse-like things that live in the soil, and that could be a bushveld gerbil or something quite similar. I've always thought it would be a very nice place to be on a morning like this, warm and snug in a little tunnel, with a mouse-sized mug of coffee, and perhaps the mouse-sized Sunday Times to read. Quite nice. Not very nice to read the sports reports after yesterday, but you know, it's just the way things go. The Springboks, our national rugby team, lost to Australia. Great consternation, everyone's very upset. Heads will roll. No one really cares. Some hyena dung. I'm not going to go through that. We've been through that very recently and probably far too often. Yes, I'm already starting to warm up a little bit. Ah, amazing. The Masai Mara is back. We're going to head down towards Twin Dams Road, see if we can find some leopard tracks. Let's go back to Jamie.
We're going towards Waffles while James goes to Twin Dams, so sorry about that, everyone. Apparently we had a brief moment of, well, the Mara disappeared, but we're back again. Well, the whole Mara didn't disappear, our feeds disappeared. So I'm going to do a fair amount of driving, quite simply because it is my last morning. So I'd like to get to her as the cubs are waking up. And then afterwards we can see where the morning takes us. We'll go look for our unicorn, all sorts of things. I hear that Brent is going to the marsh, or the Samaki swamp. So hopefully he decides to go to the little jackals. He knows where they are. I have sent him a pin. It's very close to the den that Taylor found last year. Oh, hold on. Bumpy, bumpy. So I'm just going to keep driving on a road that I won't, but I could almost drive with my eyes shut. Obviously I won't do that because there's lots of things that change. But Manu and I must have driven this road backwards and forwards to the den. There's 2 approaches. Oh, Sarah, what I'm going to miss the most about the Mara? That's a very easy question to answer, actually. And it's not the animals, it's not the lights, it's not Waffles and her cubs. It's the people that I've come to know and appreciate as work colleagues, but essentially as work family. We spend vast amounts of time with each other under occasionally trying conditions, and obviously you gain an insight and respect into the people that you live with all the time. So without a doubt, no questions asked. That is an easy answer. I'll miss the people the most. I'll miss Manu and Archie and Mercy and Faith. Oh, Manu's weeping in the back, tears streaming down his face, shaking his fist at the heavens. I'm exaggerating, he's just holding the camera like a good cameraman. And Keffer and Ed and Martin. I'm gonna miss all the people. Brent, however, doesn't have to face this reality until at least in 12 days' time, so he can focus for now on the birds.
Well, I don't, so I'm still in the Mara for another 12 days, but there we go. I thought we'd get some of our more common Mara species out of the way, and there we have yellow-throated longclaw birds. Safi, habari yawewe? I think back on that other road towards Governors.
Oh, towards
Little Governors, yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
They're there now?
I don't know. I'm looking at birds at the moment.
And these balloons, just because they're here, does it mean they found anything?
No, they just float across the Mara. Yeah. Cool. Good luck. Okay, sorry about that, chaps. Oh, move. There we go. There go our birds. And there was another bird that has now disappeared. It was a pectoral patch testicular that was making a lot of noise around here. Oh, James Richard, you are so close. James said a rufous-naped lark. It's not a rufous-naped lark because of the leg color, James. That was the big clue. So they look very similar. It's also quite a lot smaller than a rufous-naped lark. And also, oh, there's a pectoral patch testicular. Land, pectoral patch testicular. It's not landing. I'll keep looking. Sorry, we're live at the moment. Oh, Willie next door flying past. Although I'm sure we're going to see a few more of those in the marsh. So the leg color is the trick. Also, the way its body posture was, it's smaller than a rufous-naped lark. Oh, Mara dust. Oh, excuse me. Every time I try to speak. It's smaller than a rufous-naped lark, and the way it moves through the grass is slightly different. And you're going to find that a rufous-naped lark will sit more upright. And unfortunately, I'm one of those people, once I start sneezing, I need to get like 8 or 9 big ones out before it's over. Okay, I think we're okay. Maybe it's only 2 today. So my plan is, I said I'm going to the marsh, but first I'm going to go around to Dorisha and then right onto the banks of the Mara River, and then from there slowly meander our way along the edge of the forest. I'm hoping maybe for some black and white cast hornbills, Ross's Turaco. So we will be looking for all sorts of wonderful birds this morning. And of course, quite often when you look for the birds, you find the big cats as well. Ah! So Ivy is wondering why we haven't seen crown cranes and secretary birds recently. Secretary birds we've seen, just not sure. When I saw one yesterday, I think. Crown cranes is actually interesting. I haven't seen crown cranes for a while. They might have moved into a different area to feed at the moment. They do have little seasonal migrations around the area, so that could be the reason there. So when they were breeding, they were in these swampy areas next to the river, and we saw them regularly. Who knows, maybe when we get to the Samaki swamp, they might be feeding in that area because the little ones are now able to move. Koki Franklin, another one for our bird list today. Oh, Koki, you missed that jump. Definitely one of my favorite little birds. The rusty bedspring when it calls. The naughty rusty bedspring. But we'll leave the little Koki and go across to James Henry, who's looking for leopards.
I think that's an actually really good way of describing a Cokie Franklin's call, a rusty bed spring. I've never thought of that before. That's great. I shall use it and then claim it for my own. Thank you, Brent. We are looking for leopards, of course, and what we've decided is to head down to this nice riverbed here, just in the sort of, what would it be? I guess it cuts almost across the middle of Djuma, and we're doing that for two reasons. One, it'll be sheltered from the wind, and two is that it would be a good place for a leopard to hide a kill, and because it was a windy night, good chance that an excellent huntress like Tundi has managed to kill something during the course of the evening, and so perhaps that will be a good place to start looking for her tracks, and maybe we'll find her. So that's our plan. This morning we're going to get down into the drainage and see what we can find. The first thing I wanted to show you around here, though, was this tree. And I often talk about the fact that I love milkberry trees and that they're my favourite out here. But I often show you very scraggly versions. There's the most delightful version down here that both Hosanna and Tingana have spent some time in. So let's go and have a look at that. And maybe I shall bring you round to accepting why it is that I find the low-felt milkberry such a magnificent tree. Herbert, everybody wants to say good morning to you.
Good morning, everybody.
Thank you. Well
Here
done.
we are this morning. I'm looking for again.
Everyone is greeting you, Herbert. Here is the milkberry tree, everybody. It has no leaves on it at the moment. But it was the site, of course, of the great theft of Hosanna's impala by his father. Herbert just pointed and told me to shut up and stop because he thought he saw something. But we're okay. Here it is. Look at this tree. Doesn't it look like a little fairy tale tree? Let's see if we can't find some evidence of what happened here before. It's perched on the side of the bank here. Oh, I might get up and into it, in fact. Toss away my stick for now. And the first time I noticed the tree was with Hosanna in it. And there was a squirrel shouting, and it shouted at him when he was only about, his mum was still alive. In fact, they had a bushbuck kill right nearby. And I've just realised I'm talking rubbish. This isn't a milkberry tree at all. It's a false thorn tree. Anyway, it's still a great tree. That's really embarrassing. Anyway, it's still a great tree. And Hosanna was lying on this branch over here. He was probably about 8 months old, I think, over there. And there was a squirrel shouting and shouting and shouting at him for, I think it must have been about half an hour. This tree is also a really good sort of indicator of why it is that leopards don't rest in trees unless they have kills close by and unless they are nervous of things. It's really, I mean, it's fine to climb, but to lie down on the spiky bark would be very uncomfortable. Anyway, so we are looking at a false thorn tree. This one most likely Albizia forbesii, the large fruited false thorn. And it is a magnificent tree, that despite the fact that it isn't my very favourite tree, the milkberry. Good. Right. Thank you, Aegis, for your Sunday morning question. Was I barking up the wrong tree? Yes, apparently I was. I don't know why I've always thought this thing was a milkberry. It's not even close to being a milkberry, however. Alright, let me try and get out. Thank you, Proud Cat Mummy. You say I'm a fantastic tree climber. There were many who would disagree with you, but I will agree with you. Thank you. I'm not so good at getting down, though. Did you see that, Senzo? Did you see I almost did the splits there? Such is my aged flexibility. Alright, that was the large-fruited false thorn, Albizia forbesii. Very good. Anna Marie, fairly shortly you'd expect to see the tree wisteria in bloom. I'm going to say in about a month. We'll hopefully have some tree wisterias. We had hardly any last year, I seem to remember, and the year before that I'm not sure we had even one, because they do need water before they'll produce their blooms. And I'm hoping for a wet season. Right. Well, while we walk to create some memories, Jamie Patterson is now driving down memory lane.
That is a really good way of describing it. That was a fantastic link. Well done, James. Beautiful. Especially because this particular road really is memory lane for me. It's where I think I've had established some of my best Mara memories to date. That's actually what got me thinking about it, because I know this road so well that I should never, ever have got stuck on it the other morning. And I had to call Brent to come and rescue me, because I really do. I know this road like the back of my hand. But it got me thinking about some of the Mara memories that I've experienced. Like the time, and I've told Bunny one day in 50 years' time, I'm going to call him and remind him of the time that I drove through what looked like a puddle, but it wasn't. It was a dam, which was somewhat appropriate because we never came out the other side. In the middle of the night, I had no idea where I was, because when we first got to the Mara, especially driving around on the other side, in the dark, it honestly was, you could have been on the surface of Mars for all you knew. We had absolutely no idea where we were. Stuck in this mud, 10 o'clock at night, covered in mud, shoes were triple their normal weight, because we were staring at it trying to work out if we could dig our way out. Lions roaring next to us, hippos grunting next to us. We eventually managed to get hold of some people who, in the slush, in the rain of the Mara, arrived. 5 people leapt out of a station wagon, this tiny little hatchback, and we stared at it, wondering how on earth this car was ever going to pull us out. Now, out tumbled 5 Maasai men who had been celebrating their Friday night and had interrupted it very kindly to come and rescue us. I was promptly removed from the driver's seat, launched out into the mud on the side, and the gentleman then proceeded to admittedly get Mila out, but in a way that I had my head in my hands, I couldn't watch. There was mud everywhere, the poor engine was screaming. There was nothing I could do. The situation was completely outside of my control, and then they all leapt back in the station wagon and waved goodbye, and off they went. I never even got a name. They're saved to this day in my phone as the rescuers. Well, that's one moment. What other moments have I had? There was the time Imani threw a rock at us. Imani is a cheetah. That was with Jahawi at the time. There's the time I thought I was actually going to have to go to hospital when I was in Talek during the binge series in February. I think I lost about 3 kilograms in 3 days, and I mean, you know, I haven't got much to spare. But I had such bad food poisoning during that TV series. Honestly, Brent was apparently talking to me. I have no memory of it. I don't even remember doing the TV shows, to be honest. Ugh, never eat lamb ever again. I've not been able to since. That's not a nice memory, though. What are nice memories? What moments can you think of live that we've had in the Mara? Hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, which would be really nice to hear what you think are our memorable moments, and I'll think of some more from my side. I'm going to carry on to the hyena who's given me the best memories of all. Let's go back to Brent, who's making memories with birds.
Well, there we go. We're on the banks of the Mara River now. And, oh, it's got it by the foot. That one goose had the other goose by the foot. It's a war. Egyptian goose and African pied wagtail. Sorry, wagtails. The goose grabbing each other by the feet was quite entertaining. I think it scared the wagtails off. Ah, no, Archie's got them. African pied wagtail and Egyptian goose. I'm just going to keep quiet for a second. I love being near the river at this time of the morning. The sounds are glorious. Oh dear, it sounds like the little lark this morning has stumped everyone. But speaking of larks, Archie, there's another lark just in front of us. Now, it looks very, very similar to the one we just saw. However, the leg color is not pinkish, it's sort of yellowish. So there, James Richard, is your rufous-napped lark. So I will tell you what it is. I feel bad. Can't keep you guessing all drive. It is very, very similar. Quite a bit smaller. But it's the pinkish leg color. It is the white-tailed lark. And the bill is also a little bit more defined. I'll show you the rufous-napped lark now. So you see that the bill's quite a lot longer, but they do have that white throat, that distinct eye, but the leg color is more yellow. Okay. Lark lessons over till we find the next one. So, we're going to basically stick to the edge of the Mara River or the edge of the forests around the Mara River for the next hour and a half or so. And one of my favorite spots is because once we get close to the Samaki Swamp, you've got these wonderful forests to the right, and then you've got that wetland to the left with all the wading birds and whatnot. Now, the one thing we're going to try to do a little bit of today is one of the most difficult bird species, and those are the cisticulars, the little brown jobs. Now, there is a large hippo, but that's not what I'm looking at. Just behind the hippo, following the hippo, waiting for the hippo, and to disturb some insects, is a black-headed heron. Now, birds will often take advantage of large mammals as they move through the grass, disturbing grasshoppers and other chojos. Heather is asking, are there any birds in the Mara that I haven't seen? Yes, Heather, there's actually quite a few, and I'm hoping to try see as many of them as possible. I've seen some of them on other trips to Kenya, but not during this last year and a half. Now, especially there's a lot of the more arid species. Other species that occur in the more dry areas on the eastern side of the Mara, and that I would like to go see. But in the meantime, it sounds like Jamie's got some excitement close to Waffles' den.
Okay, this is not ideal. This was not what I was expecting to find. Hello, mister. Where on earth have you come from, and why are you so close to Waffles' den? He was looking decidedly interested in something. Now he's looking at us. I think it's that same young male that we saw not so long ago around here. I'm not sure. It could also be one of the ones that Brent was with during that fight a couple of mornings ago. He's looking in the direction, just to give you an idea of where Waffles' den is, between the lion and that tree, that big tree over there, the big balanites. That's where Waffles' den is. I'm going to go around the corner, but I'm not going to drive up to Waffles' den because I don't want to distract her. Right now, he's far enough. Looking at some zebras. Who are you, mister? Are you one of the Chelly boys? Oof. That almost inevitably means Waffles is not going to bring those cubs out if she knows he's here. Which is fair. I'd much rather they were safe. Okay. Let me just go around the corner. That would be a truly tragic end to my time in the Mara. Male lions are not friendly with hyenas. The only thing Waffles would really be able to do, just gauging exactly where he is, I think we can go a bit closer to him if he'll let us. The only thing Waffles would really be able to do is try and distract a male lion. Unfortunately, as much as she would love to put up a defense where it comes to her cubs, she wouldn't be able to do much. Male lions are the biggest killers of hyenas once they are past their sort of first year. There's 2 lions there. It's these 2 boys, is it? Oh, let me hold off speculating. Let's just get a bit closer and see who we've got. I think it is. I think it's the 2 males that Brent had. Or is that a... No, it's not a lioness. That's a male with hardly any mane. Hello, gentlemen. Who are you? See, I always thought that the Chelly boys always got his head down a little bit. I'll just watch him carefully. Give him some space. It's okay, my boy. It's alright. It's okay. I always thought that the Chelly boys... No, these boys are nervous. Hello. It's alright. Let me give you a bit more space. We're a little bit bigger than these boys. I could, of course, have got that wrong completely, but this one's got hardly any mane. I don't know who he is. Of course, that's what the migration does. It brings in males that are not from the area. Okay, we might have to settle for this for now, just because they're a little bit nervous. You can see how that one male's head is down. We're just going to sit here for a little bit longer and see what these boys get up to, see if they're comfortable with us. Let's go across to James, who has approved as sharp-eyed as an owl.
We have an owl found by, obviously, Herbert. It is the pearl-spotted owl, and we are standing no more than 10 meters away from it. That is about 30 feet or so, 35 feet. Isn't that lovely? And I know it's a pearl-spotted owl because you can see the eyes on the back of its head. Those black holes or black markings. You might confuse it with a barred owl, if, like me, you're an idiot, but most people are not. And so you would identify that immediately as a pearl-spotted owl. He's all fluffed out because it's a chilly morning, and we're standing in this dry riverbed, sheltered from the wind, and it almost sounds like the sea is raging around us because the wind is blowing across the woodlands, but here it's completely sheltered. It's going to be quiet for the next 20 seconds. And you can feel that wind from this morning is completely gone as we stand here in this beautiful little riverbed. Now, what we're going to do is see if we can make him call. He's now been spotted by a black-backed puffback. That's the bird going. Two black-backed puffbacks. Now he's a ferocious predator, this thing. Oh, they're bombing him now, despite their size. Yeah? You hear that? They are so angry. And he'll eat birds, this little chap. I've seen them carrying woodland kingfishers away. And that's why these black-backed puffbacks will be dissatisfied with having him around. Carol, some owls are solitary, some live in pairs. There he goes. Look, look, look. There he is. The giant eagle owl forms a monogamous pair. They're the most obviously paired ones. I think a white-faced owl quite often is in pairs too. You still see him? He's in that tree. Come up the bank a bit. Yeah, you can see him there. Alright, we're going to go from this minuscule predator back to the massive predators sitting at Waffley's den in the Masai Mara.
Right, boys, clearly you're trying to establish your territory. You know, either you need some tips, or they've been roaring all night. Because those were relatively, how would we describe that? Half-hearted calls. But it's quite possible that they've been patrolling this area all night and roaring throughout the night, and they're now just a little bit exhausted. And the fact that they're calling at this time of morning at 7:30, the lions of the Mara usually stop calling at about 7 in the morning. So it tells you a lot about these boys, that they are active and establishing themselves, or at least trying to establish themselves in this territory. I wonder where on earth they come from. It would be very interesting. It's definitely the same males that Brent had not so long ago, the ones missing the tip of its tail after the fight, or after a fight a few days ago. So at least we have an identity. Well, partly, we're at least starting to piece things together, and at the same time we also now know that Waffles knows exactly where they are, and that they're here. Might actually be interesting to go to her den now and to have a look and see, because I'm not worried anymore about distracting her. She obviously will know that they're here. It'd be interesting to go to her den and see if she does bring the cubs out and if they're active and about, because she'll be very alert. She'll be watching them. No, Sarah, clans might come together as a group to chase lionesses away from a den site. That is possible. But hyenas distinguish very quickly between a male lion and a female lion. And where male lions are concerned, they just don't mess around. I don't think they would come together to defend the den. I think it's unlikely. I think it would be the safety of the adults first. You never know, though. These boys are quite young. What are you looking at? Nothing. These boys are quite young. So there's a possibility that the hyenas might feel emboldened. I've seen, when I went through the old footage to try and get some background on North Clan when I first started following them properly, because of course I'd been to the den a few times, but I didn't really know them. I discovered footage of Waffles stealing from a male lion. It was so impressive. It was during Earth Live rehearsals last year, And while the rest of the clan would dart forward and distract him, she just waltzed in, grabbed the other end of the carcass and pulled, and just kept pulling until eventually he relinquished it. It was a really fascinating thing to watch. There's always that piece of grass in the way of the ID shots that we need, because these boys are going to become very important, in my mind, if they establish themselves here. They're still so young. I mean, look at that one's mane. Just a little crest at the top. 3, maybe? 3 years old, if that. Welcome to Trimboard, to your live safari. Trimboard, you want to know if male lions are often on their own or in pairs or not with the pride. So male lions are not part of a pride after a certain age. Once they reach maturity, once they're about 3 years old, it's time for them to depart and make their own way in the world. If they can do that with siblings or cousins, all the better for them. So what lions will do is they will form a coalition. That's what a group of males is called. If they're on their own, and they have to disperse on their own, perhaps they don't have any male siblings or cousins, then they will try and find one, preferably of a similar age, who is in a similar position, having just dispersed from home. And they'll form a group of one, that's just one really sad lion. They'll form pairs or groups of 3, 4, up to 5, and they will then start, at a young age, they'll usually be running scared. They'll run away from dominant males, but if, like these boys have done, they find themselves a vacuum or an opening, or, dare I say, a territory where the dominant males are really aging and looking a little bit weak, as the musketeers are, then they will try and establish themselves, and they will fight in order to do so. We've seen the Birminghams on Djuma come through and chase away the Matimbas, and we've seen the Avoca males then move into that territory as well, not actually clashing with the Birminghams. The Birminghams just decided to move further to the south. So male lions establish a territory, and that territory encompasses the territories of multiple different prides. And they will mate with those females, they will go and feed with those females. They sort of rotate between them. They won't always be together, sometimes they have to split up to patrol their territory, but for now, these little boys, they're not going to split up. They are going to stay together until they are well and truly established, if they manage to establish themselves. Nice and relaxed now, no longer nervous of our presence. They were a little bit. They were watching us very closely with their heads down, that sort of low-bodied approach of a cat that's not quite certain what's going on. Obviously, the other morning with Brent, they were so distracted by the fight that they weren't too concerned by him. This is the old den, by the way. It's one of the old den sites. There's a little road through here. They were very briefly at this den during the rains, when I went on leave and Ali came here. So there's actually a few holes around here. So this is one of North Clan's old den sites. Alright, gentlemen. I think I'm going to depart from you now. I'm going to go to Waffles and just see how she's doing, and if she's there. Well, if not, then we'll come back to the lines and we'll wait with them for a little bit, and then we'll go back to Waffles. Oh, wait, head up. One quick shot of the head up for ID purposes. Screenshots, hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. That is a nice side profile of the older male. I've got a sneaky suspicion that Waffles is not going to be at the den, because I've just got a message to say that North Clan is chasing vultures around a bit further to the east of us. But I'm going to go and check regardless. She's proved me wrong before. Oh, interesting. Jonathan, you want to know what the craziest lion encounter I've ever had was? I've had a fair few. There was a an incident many years ago when I was in the Kalahari. We were darting 2 male lions to move them to a different reserve. Essentially, it makes sense in a closed system. Lions need to be moved around for genetic purposes and also to reintroduce them to places where they might not be anymore. So we were darting a male lion, and the dart it didn't go fully into the muscle. It went subcutaneous. It went under the skin. Didn't properly inject him with his anesthetic. So as we drove up to him, he bounced up and was angry, really angry. So I've been watched him chase us while we drove around, hoping not to hit a hole, as he was very cross with us. Eventually managed to get the second dart in and then popped him in the back of the car, pickup truck, and travelled around with him. Every time he woke up, he received another sedative. That was 10 years ago or so, possibly more. What other crazy encounters with lions have I had? It's hard to pick one out. I've accidentally walked into mothers and cubs before, which is always a little bit scary. You know what was weird? Not so much a crazy sighting, it's just an odd one. Was when Kapuli growled at me when we first discovered the sausage tree cub. Obviously, disruption in their lives made him slightly more uncomfortable and nervous, which is so unexpected. Brent continues his birding. I'm going to continue the waffles search. We'll come back here a bit later if they're still around. Let's go and see what bird Brent has found for you now.
Here we go. Another common Mara resident that we see quite often, but still lovely to see. The hammerkop, hammerhead, that little heron species. Now we are getting into the area where we're going to start seeing quite a lot of waders. That's very exciting, and waders can be notoriously difficult to identify. So I'm hoping we get some new little wading species, especially with all this rain. They migrate all around, some local movements, some travel quite far, and with the amount of rain we've had recently, the amount of wetlands and marshes around, we could get some interesting species. Ooh. So straight down this path, on top at the edge there, we have a little malachite kingfisher. Hang on a second. Oh, flying further up the little stream and out of sight. Okay, we're about to hit the edge of the marsh. Still a bit sticky down here, but that's okay. We can handle it. Now, just before you came to us, on the opposite side of the marsh, there were male lions giving it their all in terms of roaring. And that's probably the Kitra males. I see cars. That's obviously where they are, because they were really giving it a proper go. And now we have a big hippo. Any oxpeckers on the hippo? Hippo, don't get nervous now. It's okay, we're not here to cause trouble. No oxpeckers on the hippo. Now, oh, they're a bit far. Well, let's get them as safeties. We'll probably get closer a little bit later. But we've got some birds out in the depths of the marsh. I just want to see. Oh, this is where the crown cranes are hiding, I think. Well, first we've got what stork is that one on the left there? Looks like a woolly neck stork with his neck. Oh, wait, listen, the lions again. That's over 1 kilometre away, just to give you an idea. So we've got woolly neck stork. Actually, if you go off to the left a little bit, I think those are crown cranes. Indeed they are. So, asked where the crown cranes were hiding. I predicted, now that the babies will be able to move, that they might be here. What's that now? So as those lions started roaring their heads off, a lot of it's a topi. Just popped something. That topi almost looked like it jumped up from pure fright. That one. Like, oh my goodness, what was that? Oh, we have a Rupel starling in the distance in the background. And if we go a little bit, there you go, there's the Rupel starling flying. And if you go a little bit to the right, there's bunches of sacred ibis. But I say, let's get a bit closer to the marsh areas, and we might have a much better view. Oh, it is so gorgeous out here this morning. I'm also going to go check on the Marshall Eagle nests, but in the meantime, Commander Bond's got a bird as well.
We've got a whole party of birds. It's going to be almost impossible to get on camera, but we're going to try. There are rattling cisticolas here. There's a golden-breasted bunting, I think, actually crawling about on the ground there. There are black-backed puffbacks. Oh no, that's a brown-crowned chagra hopping about on the road. That's quite nice. We heard a yellow-throated apellis calling. Which one are you on now? You got one. There's another black-backed puffback. They keep flying away very quickly. Obviously there's a little emergence of insects in this area, and that's why all these little insect-eating birds are going past. There's some rattling cisticolas. That's the black-backed puffback you're looking at there. Its most obvious feature being its white back when it puffs out. Why it's called the black-backed puffback when it's got a much whiter back than a black back, I don't know. Oh, we had such lovely birds here. Let's just look in this little thicket. There were a whole lot of rattling cisticolas, and I think there were a tawny flanked prinia or two as well in this grassy thicket. One would expect the cisticolas to nest quite close to a thicket like this. Anyway, we've come into the riverbed near where near where Tlalamba was born. And in fact, we're right next to the first place that Tristan saw her, because we did have some tracks coming in here. So we might be lucky. Herbie's just up ahead, looking to see what he can find. And again, all around us, such a huge sort of tumultuous movement of air. Jamie has arrived at the den. I think Waffles may have also arrived. I'm not sure which den is where and how and who and...
I haven't actually. I'm not at the den at all. We've arrived with Waffles, but we're probably about 150 or so yards away from the den site itself. And you can see how cautious she's being. She's obviously heard those males calling. She was probably on her way back to fetch the cubs out. But she doesn't want to go yet because she doesn't know exactly where those lions were calling from. So she's gone to a termite mound about 150 or so yards away, and she's just listening, looking. I made sure that we gave her quite a wide berth as we came in, and never drove between her and the potential threat. So the den is in that direction, and the lions are in that direction. I can't see them from where I am. She wasn't hard to find, actually. I mean, she was walking straight in front of us. Oi, Waffles. I'm so glad I went to her yesterday, because I was a bit worried that this would happen on my last morning. Not specifically lions, obviously. I was concerned that we would not have the opportunity to see her cubs, which I think is how this situation is going to play out today. But let's wait and see. We'll sit patiently with the Queen of North Clan, who is experienced enough to know what dangers the wilderness can hide. So many termite mounds, so many bushes. Perfect place if you're a hyena with cubs, but at the same time, so many hiding places for a lion. I don't know exactly where those lions are anymore. Somewhere in there. I'm hoping they're going to call again so that Waffles can pinpoint their exact position. Hey, big girl. Oh, Andy, the cubs at this age now, I mean, they're 5 weeks old. Or just over 5 weeks old, actually. They can stay in the den. I'm talking quite softly, just in case. They can stay in the den for easily a day, possibly 2, without Mom feeding them. They possibly even longer, actually. They'll start to get quite weak quite quickly because they are young cubs. But it's not like they are a couple of days old and in desperate need of feeding every few hours. So although she'll be feeding them 3 times a day or so now, she doesn't necessarily have to. So if the lions decide to set up camp close to her den site, she might not go there until they leave. And the cubs will be absolutely fine. They will stay hidden underneath the ground. Their instinct tells them that when Mom is away, they mustn't move, they mustn't squeak, they mustn't fight, they must just sleep quietly until Mom comes back. And there are those, of course, terribly tragic situations where sometimes Mom doesn't come back. It's unusual, but it's what happened to poor Gwen's cubs. Okay. We're not going anywhere. I'm going to spend my last morning with the Queen of North Clan. Brent is doing some birding this morning. He's found even more for you.
Well, we have got a bird that James Henry particularly has a particular distaste for. The hardy-dar ibis, was they're called in East Africa Hadaidas. They are wonderfully adept at using that scimitar shape. Oh, that one's got a limp. To the lion's starting again. And I've got baboons alarming in front of me. It's definitely not at the lions. Who knows, maybe there's a spotty cat around here somewhere as well. But anyway, as I was saying about the hardy-dars, James is not particularly fond of them. They've colonized the golf courses in South Africa, and they make a huge amount of noise. And James Henry is one of the few people I know who spends quite a bit of time on a golf course, mostly looking for his balls and using profanity at his shots. But he does enjoy a good round of golf. Myself, I think golf is like watching paint dry. And James probably feels the same way about fishing. Oh, elephants trumpeting. But I want to go look at this. We unfortunately can't get there because that's. You can actually show them their arch right across the other side of the marsh, and it's going to take us about an hour to get around there. You might spot a lion in front of a car. There we go. Oh, white stork. There's some lions. But there's a white stork. There's another one for our birding list. And you can see it's quite busy there. We're probably going to avoid. You've got lions with Jamie. I want to see what these baboons are alarming at in the forests up ahead of me. Could be another lion. Could be a spotty cat. Now, let's go across to the man who's lost more golf balls than one could think possible, has thrown his club and used profanity at all golf courses around Southern Africa. James Henry.
I wish I could say that Brent was exaggerating there, but he isn't. I have lost more golf balls than I've managed to... than is imaginable. I have used words that I regret. I have broken only one golf club. I hit an apple leaf tree with my sand wedge at the Palabor golf course once. After, I don't know, about the 7th or 8th time, I think I'd fresh aired the ball. So yes, while Brent does normally exaggerate, he's not exaggerating on this score. We're in the same drainage line we were before. We went past the first place that we saw Tlalamba, where Tristan had Thandi and Tlalamba, and where Thandi took exception to Tristan and told him to please go away. We haven't found anything further, and I wish we had some alarm-calling baboons or something to lead us, but we don't at the moment. So we're still just walking through the riverbed, seeking shelter from the wind and looking for tracks. We need to be careful, of course, because it is windy, which means that we could come across anything without realizing it. And so we're going to walk with great care through here. Herbert is up towards the right-hand side, looking to see if he can find some tracks. Let's see if we haven't got any seeds yet on this tambuti tree. Come and have a look at the funny little flowers that form here. There we go. I climbed one of these trees to get to those flowers. If I'd known that I'd just come along here, it would have been so much easier. They'll form the seeds, and eventually, of course, those Embrasium moth caterpillars will go inside them. Well done, Senzo. Was that a profound thing to film? Yes, tambuti tree. Well done. Good job. Excellent. There's been some rhino activity through here, and on a windy day like this you'd want to be very careful, because what you would not want to do is come across a rhino resting in a drainage line like this. This is where they do tend to rest on windy days. You get a big fright and just start to run, and if you happen to be in that area, well, then you'd be in trouble. These are not fresh. Colbert, you're wondering about the best green on Djuma, is that right? The best green? Oh, for golf. The best green on Djuma for golf? I suppose probably there's a little patch. We were on watching Thandi the other day. There was a termite mountain. She was on the termite mountain, and the grass around there actually would have made quite a good green as far as bush greens go. There are some alarm-calling birds around. I'm just wondering if we're not being observed from above the bank by the spotted Thandi and her daughter Tlalamba. And you feel the wind. Alright, for the 7,564th time we're going to go across to Jamie and guess where she is. And I'm very glad she's where she is.
Jamie with waffles. Never fear, James, never fear. That's coming to an end shortly. I'm very stubborn though. I'm not budging for the rest of the morning. I'm spending it with the Queen, who has been responsible for the making of some of my best Mara memories, to be honest. There was the time long ago with Gendre, actually. For once Manu wasn't with me. I don't know where you were.
I was on leave.
I think you might have been on leave. But we were watching Anna, one of the high-ranking females, carrying a wildebeest, and then Soup came in and stole it from her. Soup being Waffles' granddaughter. And the next thing, Waffles came charging in, but she was so fat, and of course very pregnant at the time. We didn't quite realize that. But she was so entirely round. She looked like a very angry, vengeful beach ball as she came bounding in, asserting her dominance over the rest of the clan, and then calling. And she's got a very deep, very husky voice, old Waffles. Very distinctive call. Different to the males, different to the other hyenas. I think we've just spent so much time with her. Then there was the time Manu and I followed them through the night into that clan war, which was absolutely mental. It was one of the most thrilling experiences of my life, racing, knowing we could fall into a hole at any moment. But we were just surrounded by hyenas, and it felt a little bit like we were part of the clan. We weren't, of course, but they were racing on either side of us, and all of a sudden they'd overtake us, look at us, and then carry on. And I think that after the sort of the fighting had died down, Saruni, who was our ranger at the time, said it best. He looks at us and goes, 1009 hyena. Of course, going down Mara memory lane, we certainly cannot gloss over Taylor's faceplant. Manu was with me as well. She took that fall with such grace and good humour. I'm full of respect and admiration. And she really did. But every time I looked back on Manu that day, and he started to giggle, and I started to giggle, and we'd lost it for the rest of the day. Cal6, you say that the favourite Mara memory was the first sight of the wafflets. For me, when we realised there were two, was an extraordinary moment, but it simply cannot top, which unfortunately you weren't here with me for, was about 5 minutes before a rehearsal, when Waffles picked up her cub for the first time and we realised we were right. We knew, the way that she was behaving, we knew we were, but still, to see that little thing picked up helpless and tiny and floppy. And unfortunately we could not use the original audio from when we first saw it, because I was not at my most eloquent, let me put it that way. I was whispering very quietly, but I was not at my most eloquent. Sure. Lots of Mara memories. Following Malika and her two boys at night. Lion cubs. Well, many, many marvellous Mara moments. Let's go make some more marvellous Mara moments with birds, with Brent. I tried.
Well, we had quite a few requests for crown cranes, and we saw them in the distance a little bit earlier. Now, at least, we have them a little bit closer up. They are absolutely stunning creatures. Amazing how they've evolved that elaborate headdress to impress each other. I suppose if we take into account human mating behavior, that elaborate headdress is nothing. But nice to see them nonetheless. So there's obviously a huge amount of food in this area, and that's why they're foraging here. Scott says, what a head indeed, Scott. Now, since we've been focusing on the birdies, we thought we might give our large mammal lovers some love. There's a particularly impressive buffalo bull walking towards us at the moment. Hello, big boy. Looking grumpy as always. And a nice little herd of elephants feeding on what looks to be the fruit of the Diospirus we get here in the Mara. Very, very lovely scenes, very peaceful scenes here on the southeastern side of the marsh. We're the only car this side. Everyone else was chasing the lions on the other side. Lovely long-tusked elephant cow. Now we're going to go to one of my favorite spots, not so secret spots, but very few people ever go there. And it's the same spot where we managed to, luckily enough, see the Kakamega blue monkey, Ross's Chiraco. Colbert is wondering, what is the best birding season in the Mara? The Mara birding's pretty good all year round, but definitely during the rains. So anywhere from December, January is probably the best. Oh, sorry, old man. because you get a lot of the migrant species coming through, all bird of prey. Now I know what it is from here. I'm going to get a juvenile batelier by the looks of things. And that's exactly what it is. A juvenile batelier. Now what I'm also going to do after I've checked my super secret spot is to head towards the Marshall Eagle's nest, and that my friend Stratton is researching to see if they're around that area. But now, let us go on the road less traveled into the foray. Foray. What is that impala staring at? It is staring at a warthog. Sorry, impala. Now, as I say, very, very few people ever come down into this area. There's a little track that leads onto the banks of the Mara River. But it's your only real access point to get inside some of this riverine forest. And we've had quite a few treats inside here. Probably the highlight is the Kakamega blue monkey. But also we've seen nice turacos, and who knows what might be in this little lovely enclave today. Looks like there's going to be elephants. I just spot some elephants through the trees in the distance. Oof! Ravinda says, I've never seen an owl in the Mara. Could I show you one? Well, at this time of the day, quite difficult. But Ravinda, remind me this evening, or on one of the sunset safaris, and I will find you an owl, Ravinda. Okay, lots of elephants in here, so let's have a look. Maybe we'll get some turacos as well. White-browed robin chat, Rupel's robin chat, red-capped robin chat, all options in this area. Now what we're about to go through here is actually an ancient part of the Mara River. So the Mara River used to flow here, and then over time it has changed its course. So we're about to drive through the Mara River, just not the current Mara River. So if you ever do a balloon safari in the Mara, you'll see lots of these ancient riverbeds crisscrossing through the forest as you fly over, or if you come over in an aeroplane. I think it's absolutely gorgeous in here. So it's one of the few places we can access some of the forested areas that we don't normally get the opportunity to, and we might be lucky enough to see some species that we don't normally see. So the river's just down here to my right. You can see there's a big drop off there, and there's forests on both sides. Now you probably find that the reason this area is quite open is because of this ancient little oxbow here, and we got the eddies right on the bank. Let's have a look at these ellies quickly, and this is the spot that we saw that Kakamega blue monkey as well. Hi ellies. Oh, we have some little seed eaters as well, some birds on the ground. You see where they landed there? Over there. There we go. Oof, what have we got? It's difficult to see with this light. It looks like we've got some little blue-billed firefinches. Yeah, blue-billed firefinches. And I'm just having a quick look in the trees. Good spot for Ross's turaco, Scallo's turaco, And let's just get a bit closer to that Ellie, and also so we can see the river. So basically what happened is that the river used to go like that, and now it cut the corner and came straight across. So there we go. Absolutely stunning here. Unfortunately, not any of the bird species we've been looking for, but it's always lovely to see some ellies. And there's some martins flying around at high speed. I'm afraid I don't think we're going to be able to get the camera on them. You'll just see them zip through occasionally around the ellie's head. There goes one. Okay. Well, we're going to continue our search for fascinating creatures. While we do that, let's send you back to Commander Bond all the way back in South Africa.
We've got a frog here, which is a bit odd because we're nowhere near water. And this, if I'm not mistaken, is a platana. It's not quite dead yet, but clearly it's about to die, and I thought maybe it had been run over, but I think it'd be a lot flatter if it had been run over. We'll just try and flip it over. It tends to kick a little when, yeah, you see it's still alive, poor thing. Now, platana is an almost exclusively aquatic frog. They don't spend much time out of the water, so how this thing has ended up here, I really couldn't tell you. We are nowhere near any waterhole. I can only think that perhaps it went into some kind of estivation in a pan close by, and the wind or rain. There's some elephants close by. Come up onto this termite mound here. And the rain that we had last night probably brought it out of where it was waiting, and then it realized that perhaps it had come out too early. There's some shouting elephants here. I'm just going to go up and see if I can see them. Senzo, can you make it up here? Or are you stuck? You can make it. This is a perfect place to be viewing elephants. A few of you saying maybe a bird dropped that frog. I'm going to say I think that's unlikely because they'd have swallowed it. You know, something like a heron or a hammerkop or something like that wouldn't be carrying it. They'd have swallowed it whole. But it's not impossible. Right, now let's just listen carefully. I heard cracking branches earlier and I thought it was a rhino because we were on fresh rhino tracks. But obviously it's an elephant herd taking refuge in this thick bush. Oh, there's an alarm calling squirrel. The squirrel won't alarm call at elephants. The elephants could shout at a predator though. You see the squirrel?
Yeah, it's down there.
Ah. Looking, trying to look down towards where it's looking. Let's just stand up here. Often staying concealed and just waiting is the best approach out here. I don't think it's shouting at us. Looking straight down below it. I think there's a little snake there, maybe. Oh. You know what it's alarming at? It's watching Herbert. Let's go down and join Herbie. So, any other theories for what happened to that platana? Be needed to know exactly what happened to it. Should then you say maybe it was just an actor frog? It was certainly acting a little bit. Let's keep going this way. A lot of you asking why I couldn't take it to some water. It's because we're nowhere near any water. We are absolutely nowhere near water, and I think it's about to die. And I think having it on my hands, amphibians are obviously extremely sensitive to any kind of foreign substance on their skins because they absorb things. It's why we very seldom pick up frogs. And, you know, to carry it on my hand until we found some water would be dangerous for the frog. So I'm just going to let it be and hope that it goes back into estivation. Wind. Okay. We're just going to concentrate on these elephants, and then I will talk to you about the platana. We're not far from it still. There's some nyala through there. Also, I mean, the basic answer is we're going to try and have as little effect out here as possible. So if that platana has ended up there during the course of its natural life, well, chances are it will survive. And I don't want to go and try and play God out here. There are the elephants. There's our big bull there. Oh, there's our big bull there. The wind is not good for us at the moment, so we're not going to get close. There. Wind is not blowing in the right direction for us. But we're perfectly safe where we are because we're a long way away. You don't see them. There's 5.5 ton animals in the bush there. Come over here. Let's see if we can get a better view. Did you not see them?
Yeah, I did see them with my eye, but on the camera.
Oh, none of you saw them. Okay, sorry everybody. We'll try and get you a decent view. Like I say, the wind's not too bad for us. They're not too far from us. Let's keep looking. Okay, we're not going to... We'll keep trying to find them. Let's go back across to Brent with some baboons.
So these are the baboons that were alarm calling a little bit earlier, but they look quite calm now. Oh, there's a little standoff between two big males. I can't see the rest of the troop, but I'm sure they're back in the forest feeding. And we've got the two big males playing sentry on the edge. Enjoying a bit of morning sunshine. Now we can hear quite a few birds. Oh, there we go. Back in the forest, there's a tropical boo-boo calling. I don't know if you could hear that. Wah! That was a bateleur, who, although being a very pretty bird when adults, do not have a very good voice. Pop, 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 pop. Tropical boo-boo. Bateleur. Hi, Bridget. Bridget would like to know whether these are olive or chacma baboons. They are olive baboons. We do not get chacma baboons in East Africa. They are a southern African species. Now, I've got a little baboon quiz for you. So we get 2 baboon species in Kenya. The olive baboon that we are looking at this very moment in time, and another. What is the other baboon species that occurs in Kenya? Now, quite often, well, you see them on the coast, and particularly on the southern coast of Kenya. Who has any ideas to what the other baboon species that is seen in Kenya is? Hashtag SafariLive if you are willing to attempt an answer, or if you possibly know the answer. Now, like the Chakma baboon, the olive baboons are often considered to be quite terrestrial, so they spend a lot of time on the ground. The other baboon species that I'm asking about is often considered to be a lot more arboreal, so that they are spend far more time in the trees than the olive or Chakma baboons. Oh, you guys are too fast this morning. Ravinda, you are spot on. It is indeed the yellow baboon. Now let's keep moving along. Maybe with the baboons here, whatever they were alarm calling at, I'm hoping it's a leopard, might have moved a little bit further to the north. So we're just going to keep slowly maneuvering our way around the edge of the forest with the marsh off to the west of us. Very, very, hang on, very peaceful. What are you guys looking at like that? Okay. I just kept looking back a little bit nervously into that thicket. I'm going to go have a look. While I do that, let's send you back to James and some heffalumps.
Right, well, we've got a kind of view of them. There are 2 or 3, I think. And they're in some thick bush, not ideal conditions, and so we probably won't be able to get any closer than this, but at least you get an idea of what it feels like to be on foot with them. It always feels that much more nerve-wracking when the wind is blowing like this. You can understand what it must feel like to be a prey species that is preyed upon heavily like an impala or something. It's just a feeling that is unsettling. Now, I'm not saying these elephants would ever try and prey on us, but the idea that there are animals much more powerful than yourself around, and that conditions are not ideal for understanding what they're doing, is unsettling. Sinzo, can you see him? There's quite a nice view of his bottom where we're standing over here. The wind is okay for us. I wouldn't describe it as perfect, but it's not bad. We have plenty of space behind us to just melt off into a riverbed if he was to become aware of us. Well, the trick also on a day like today, when the wind is blowing like it is to make sure that you pay attention not just to the one animal that you can see, but to the thick bush either side, making sure that you aren't surprised, because it is amazing how quickly one of these things can come up upon you, not intentionally on their part, but just through the normal course of taking a few steps during their browsing. Yes, Lara Moore, I can see what you mean there. You can see that he does look a bit dinosaur-esque behind the trees there. You could, if you suspended your belief for a little while, imagine that we're in a prehistoric landscape and that was a dinosaur. We've still got those squirrels shouting. I'm not sure what they're shouting at. We haven't seen anything that should make them afraid. I keep saying I'm sure you can feel the wind. What I mean, of course, is that you can hear it, but I want you to try and feel it. It's cold, and it is unsettling. No, Aegis, I don't think the elephants know we're here. I think that they would have at least turned to face us at some stage. I don't think that they would necessarily have reacted negatively to us, but they would certainly have turned to face us and assess us with their noses if they'd picked us up. Probably won't see us if they look this way, because there is so much bush between them and us. We know their eyes are not the best. There you can see the tusks. Anyway, always nice to have an elephant on Sunday on foot. Sunday on foot elephant. And this beastly wind continues to blow harder and harder. I can just hear their footfalls in the grass, a little bit of breaking branches. They're very peacefully sort of grazing along. I can actually only see one at this stage. I don't know where the others have gone. There, I can hear the other one now to the right-hand side of the picture. At least one more. I think that's probably the big bull I heard. I'm going to take a few steps this way and see. I can't see him. No view this side. Herbie's just going to go and look around the back here, see what he can see. Ray, elephants get their protein the same way that all herbivores do, and that is through the digestion of bacteria that have digested the cellulose that they eat in their vegetation. So as you know, if you just eat plants, it can be quite difficult to get enough protein unless you're eating some meat, or if you're a vegetarian, you're eating sort of very protein-rich things. If you don't like dairy, then like nuts or that sort of thing. Elephants obviously don't have that option. And so like most herbivores, what they do is come around this way. Like most herbivores, what they do is they have a whole suite of bacteria in their guts, and those bacteria digest the cellulose, which is the structural material in the plants, and the elephants then will process those bacteria in the same way that you'd process meat, I suppose. They also get a lot of fatty acids from those bacteria. But you don't find them ever eating bones, or I suppose they might suck on bones. I've never seen them do that, but I suppose they might. You don't find them snacking on exotic cheeses or eating a steak. There we go. There's a nice view through there. That's the younger one. I think there's an older bull as well. Herbie's got a nice view this side. Yeah, come quickly, quickly. They're having a fight. Two bulls having a box with each other. This is fantastic stuff. It's not a big fight, it's a bit of an argy-bargy. This is great. Now we're in a perfect position, perfectly safe. Barb, if an elephant is going to charge, they will normally give you warning before they charge. They'll open their ears out, lift their heads and come towards you, sometimes known as a mock charge, which is a silly way of describing it, because elephants don't mock. They very seriously are saying, get away from me, I don't like you around. But an actual elephant charge often happens with the head tucked in and the ears pinned flat back. And that's how you sort of discern a full charge from what you might describe as a mock charge. But often a mock charge can turn into a full charge. There's another nice view just down the road here. Chris, did you say, are there tusker bull elephants in this area? Well, any elephant with a tusk is a tusker. I think you probably mean this kind of giant tuskers, right? Those huge tuskers with tusks that might touch the ground almost. There are a few left in the Kruger, but very, very few. Unfortunately, their genes have been shot out. And they were shot out by the hunters largely in the 19th century. You know, when this area was proclaimed as a game reserve, there were 5 elephants left. There are 15,000 odd now, but there were 5 in the Sabi Game Reserve when it was proclaimed in 1898. All of the rest had been shot out by hunters trading in ivory. It's one of the great tragedies, of course, of humanity, that we have managed to kill so much of our natural heritage. And what astounds me even more is that in this day and age, despite the fact that we know that shooting out those genes has created a complete loss of big tuskers, you'll still find trophy hunters who want to shoot big tusker elephants. It completely baffles the mind. So there are 4 of them actually, 4 bulls, 3 of them having some wrestling to warm up on Sunday morning, and I think 2 younger ones. So it's a little bachelor group, and they seem to be under the command, if you like, of a quite old bull. Peanut, male elephants, when they get tossed out of the herd, Pina, male elephants are normally around about 18. It's Tina with a T. Thank you, Senzo. Now you be quiet. You film the elephants. Tina with a T, not peanut with a P, or Pina with a P, or as in colada. Elephants get tossed out of the herd when they're about 18, plus minus, sometimes a little bit before. And that's when they become irritating to the females of the herd. They start bullying the little ones and becoming amorous with some of the younger females. And, well, there's nothing quite as painful as having a testosterone-fueled adolescent trying to impose himself. And that goes for human beings as well as elephants. All right, we'll move away from these elephants now, I think, and see what else we can find. Let's go back across to Brent Leo Smith, who is still in the Masai Mara and still on the quest for feathers.
Well, we have stopped to look at a wattled lapwing, but as I stopped, I heard a very disturbing sound. I have either driven over a snake or my valve has just popped out of my tire. And we're not even off-roading. my tyre. I suddenly decided it doesn't want to work. It's not the valve itself, it's coming from around the valve. Oh dear. That is the problem. Okay, I'm going to try come up with a plan to fix this. While I do that, let's send you to whoever I'm sending you to.
There is only one plan, and that involves changing a tyre. My sincerest sympathies. It's something we get out of practice doing here in the Masai Mara, because we very seldom get flat tyres. However, I shouldn't speak too soon, should I? Next thing you know, it will happen to me too. Poor Brent, and those are new tyres. He must be truly devastated. Waffles is up. She's just moved behind the termite mound to relieve herself. And now we are walking away from the den? Yes, this is very good. It is a very good point. Kirsten says at least he didn't run over a snake. Absolutely. We'd much rather a flat tyre than that. Okay. We're not going to the den this morning. Where are we going, Waffles? I think she's decided it's not worth the risk for now. What that means is it bodes well for SafariLives this afternoon, because I don't think those lions are going to stay there all day. I'm hoping that for this afternoon's episode she'll actually come and bring the cubs out, because they're going to be hungry. Alright, well, let's go see where the Queen's taking us. I'm curious. Very curious. Perhaps she's heard something that I have not. It's entirely possible. Her sense of hearing is vastly better than mine. And the rest of the clan is in that direction. Chitty chatty Meg, no, hyenas don't dig their own dens. And good morning to you, of course, as well. They don't dig their own dens, they utilize, which is what I've got to be very careful around here, which is why I'm not looking at you. They will utilize aardvark and warthog burrows for their den sites. They've even been known to share their den sites with porcupines. But this whole area is full of holes, so I've got to be really careful about where I drive. I'm very curious to know where she's taking us. So what hyena cubs will do is they will excavate within the tunnels themselves. They'll make their own tiny little tunnels and little shelves that they can sleep on while staying dry. Did we come all this way to poop? No, surely not. I think we did. I think we came all this way to poop. Sorry, Waffles. I'm not according you much privacy here. Hyenas don't like to defecate round the den. Makes sense. Although, I say it makes sense. At the same time, they'll quite happily bring a smelly, stinky carcass back to the den for their cubs. But maybe when the cubs are this young as well. So what you'll see is, of course, hyenas use latrines, which is regular spots where they defecate. And around a den site at a certain radius, they will have a greater concentration of latrines in those sorts of areas. But once you get to the den, you find that they don't defecate there. Obviously the cubs are a different story. They will do so, naturally. They're babies. They can't go wandering off far from the den in order to do so. But the adults generally won't. Although I think I did tell you the story of the time Waffles was so fat, she had a bit of a runny tummy. And she was sitting at the natal den and she just desperately ran, trying to get as far as possible before she had to go. Where are we off to, my girl? I'm still keeping a bit of distance from her so that she can listen over the sound of the engine. But she's moving away from the lions now. Carol, it is possible for animals to fight over dens and tunnels. Perhaps the warthogs might decide they don't really want to be evicted by spotted hyenas. But generally speaking, there's a truce to be found quite easily. For example, a hyena is an apex predator and a warthog, while very strong and very big, is not. And they'll usually relinquish their den spot. But as I said, sometimes they even share. So a hyena and a porcupine together, it's a weird thing to imagine. You'll often see francolins around den sites of shame. She's so anxious. Sorry, girl. I think she's decided better not to go to the cubs now. She obviously trusts their instincts enough to leave them be. What's she listening for? See how she listened and then changed direction? There's something that she's after. Listening again. No, wrong way. This way. Sniffing into the wind. She could probably smell those lions. She certainly would have been able to from where she was. Well, whatever else we find out this morning, we know for certain that Waffles isn't hungry, judging from that belly. This is in no way risky, driving here. It's not at all a boggy marsh. Oh dear. I get suspicious when I see patches of bright green grass. Love, hope, faith, you're wondering about the size of hyenas' bellies and the muscular nature. Hyenas are very powerful animals. Their muscle attachment points are, especially around their jaws, very well developed. So they have very, very powerful muscles, especially around the front half of their bodies. Their bellies are big because it's migration. Although honestly, I have never seen the hyenas of the Masai Mara go hungry. I have seen lions look hungry. I have seen leopards and cheetah look hungry. I have never ever known the hyenas of the Mara to be hungry. They're incredibly successful. And they'll eat 20% of their body weight in one sitting. Because they never know, in theory, where the next meal is coming from. So that's why they always have bulging bellies. But of course, it's more pronounced during the presence of the migration, because there's just that much more for them to eat. They've recently killed a buffalo, though. I don't know how. I'm still not 100% certain if they didn't steal it. I think that is a possibility. But they could have killed a buffalo on their own. We know that they can. Where are we going, Big W? Are we going to the beach? They've got a little secret spot that only Manu and myself know about. It's directly aligned with this tree, and it's the end point of a massive drainage system. So it's where a lugger starts. And it's basically a dam with a little beach. I wonder if we're going to the beach. Oh, we're going to keep following her. I'm curious to see where she's going to lead us, and she's not in any way bothered by us. Let's go see what else James has found out on his morning walk.
We found what Senzo was referred to as a tombstone, which is ridiculous because it isn't a tombstone at all. It is, however, an interesting look at the subsurface soil. And it's an interesting look because it's been pulled up by the pushing over of this tree by elephants. Look at the layers of soil here and how they're formed. Now, I really couldn't tell you how this is possible. It's originally igneous rock, which means that it is from the bowels of the earth. It's come up, goodness knows how many thousands of years ago, how many hundreds of thousands of years ago, during a time when there was a lot of volcanic activity in this area. Then I suspect what's happened is that it's cooled quite quickly. And that's why it's formed these layers, these concentric circular layers. So this was probably, in fact, now that I think about it, probably a bubble. If you think of a bubbling pot of viscous liquid, I'm trying to think maybe syrup or something, and that would have bubbled. This would have been liquid magma, and it would have bubbled, come to the surface, cooled very quickly, and then formed these layers, leaving a little ball inside, which probably, if you crack open, will be a number of other layers. Isn't that cool? So that's almost certainly what this was. Bubbling magma, making perfect spheres. Yeah, Tim, it is a cool rock. It's also quite a soft rock. I mean, as far as rocks go, these are really pretty soft. See if we can crack one open. There we go. And of course we named our other rock Richard after our beard. He was visiting us. And we have two new viewers visiting us at the moment, Christine and Kenny. And so maybe we should find two rocks and call them Christine and Kenny. I think we should talk to Christine and Kenny first to ask them if that's how they would... Oh, they're sitting in the final control saying that they would like to be called after rocks. Or rocks to be called after them. Anyway, there are the layers, and you can see that they continue all the way to the inside of this amazing rock. And it is quite soft, like I say. And for those of you who haven't heard the speech before, this area is one of the most ancient in the world when it comes to soils. And it's one of the reasons that agriculture was so absolutely hopeless around here. There's very little nutrition in the soils out here, especially calcium. They're very especially calcium deficient. But, of course, all the animals and all of the plants here have evolved to deal with those nutritional deficiencies. Alrighty, on we go. Thank you, Senzo, for your tombstone. Any idea why you called it a tombstone? Oh, because it's the shape of a grave, is it? How lovely. Mary, you would like a rock named after you. All right, well, here we go. Let's have a little ceremony, shall we? How about this one? No, this one was Kenny, wasn't it? Yeah. Here you are, Mary. One, two, three. I hereby name you Rock Mary. There we go. The ceremony is now complete, and this rock will henceforth be known as Mary the Rock. Come on then. Oh dear, sorry about that. Christine, I'm sorry, I didn't kiss your rock. Kenny, I'm not kissing your rock. I'm sorry. I'll kiss Christine's rock, but I'm. This one was Christine's, was it? Christine is from North Carolina, as is Kenny. Well, Kenny was born there. Christine wasn't, and so during the course of the next 10 days or so, I will be hopefully perfecting my southern drawl. Come on now. Senzo, we got a long way to walk. Right, after that tremendous rock naming ceremony, I'm overcome with emotion. Let us go across to the great Brent Leo Smith and find out what he thinks of rock naming.
Well, we are with a very relaxed white-browed kukul who's scavenging around for a meal. Now, we are still leaking air out of our tyre, but what I've decided is we're going to try and get to a better spot to change tyres on a nice, flat, smooth road. What are you after in there, kukul? They are such interesting birds. See how they skulk through the grass and bushes looking for potential prey. And they will also eat lizards, small rodents, but the majority of their prey is made up of invertebrates. I think they are absolutely gorgeous birds. This one is very relaxed. Seldom do we get them out in the open like this so nicely. And you can see a little bit wet from their hunting style, moving through the wet, dewy grass in the morning. Oh, they are beautiful. Yep, yep, yep. Yes, and you can see those very distinct red eyes. definitely one of the best kukul sightings we've had. So definitely one of the best kukul sightings we've had. And you can see it's pretty unperturbed. How far from us? Not even 2 meters. You can see there's the car. And they say normally we get a decent view, but then they disappear, or flap off, fly off. And this one is giving us a real treat. Now you can see that very distinct predatory bill. Oh, has he found something? And it's so nice to be able to watch their hunting behavior, how carefully they move through the grass. And they'll actually even go down sort of little rodents tunnels and stuff like that. When the rodents are in there, it's just so close we can barely see him. There he is, popping out again. Isn't that beautiful? Fuzzman Sparkles asks, how many kukul species do we get in the Mara? In theory, 3, but I've only ever seen 2, and that is the coppery tail. I mean, sorry, not the coppery tail. I'm talking absolute twaddle. The white-browed, which we've just been looking at, and the black kukul, which is more around in the rainy season. And it's quite a lot smaller than the white-browed. But in theory, we're supposed to get... I'm just trying to remember. I can't remember if it's coppery-tailed or blue-headed. But I have never seen them. And I think it's blue-headed that might possibly occur here. No, the closest is the blue-headed. Lara Moore is wondering... Are red eyes on both male and female? Yes, they are, Lara Moore. So the closest other kukul species is the blue-headed, but they are massive. They are monsters, probably double the size of the coppery-tailed. But we're down south here, so I don't think they get as far as us. Then, of course, oopsie, Senegal, too far north. Coppery-tailed, too far south. There's the other one, the black kukul, and completely black in breeding. And we do see quite a lot of non-breeding ones around, but they are not nearly as striking as the breeding individuals. And then that's owls. Okay. Let's look at my tire. It's still okay. Let's keep moving. That was an awesome sighting. Yes, they do, Pippin. Pippin says kukuls eat other baby birds. Indeed, they do. Apart from invertebrates, rodents, if they find nesting birds or eggs of your ground nesting birds, such as larks, lapwings, they will definitely take advantage of a young and defenseless little bird. Now, I'm almost hoping that my leaky tire will get me home, and I don't have to change it myself, but we will see what happens. I feel I've done enough tire changes over my years in the bush, and I think certain of our camp members need more practice. But in the meantime, let's send you back to Jamie with Waffles hiding in the grass.
Good. Let's see how Brent goes. Let's see if he manages to make it to the end of the morning. The Waffles didn't even make it to the beach. She obviously has her own private pool, and I suspect it's somewhere that she comes quite regularly. It is just a hole hidden in the ground where there is a muddy puddle, but for her it is the perfect place to wait out the lion invasion, far too close to for comfort to her den site. So that is where she is, and this is probably where she's going to stay. I don't know. It's difficult to gauge. She could get up and go back to the cubs. I don't know how she's going to know when the lions leave or not. Or if she's just going to wait until it gets hot and they're more likely to be asleep. in the shade somewhere. I think that's probably the most likely option. Probably going to wait it out rather than potentially attract trouble to her cubs. I'm hoping by SafariLives this afternoon that cubs will be out. I'm really hoping. Just one last glimpse, please, Waffles. Actually, I can't ask her that because the lions are not her fault. It's not her decision. Better to be safe. She's still on alert. Ravinda, it's so funny that you should mention that because we've been looking at it as well. Ravinda's pointing out the bite marks on Waffles' collar. I'm sure it has been chewed by generations of cubs that have come before this lot, whether it is her cubs or whether it's been cubs from other mothers. I'm sure that many things have chewed on that collar. Probably Hershey and Ferg, her two sons, were responsible for a large number of those bite marks. Those collars are built to withstand all sorts of things, so it's very difficult for them to come loose or to be chewed loose. The reason she has that collar, I just keep reminding people in case we've got new viewers and for whom a collar might be a little bit confusing. It is very, very important in terms of monitoring her. So it emits a radio frequency that is picked up by a telemetry kit. We do not have a telemetry kit or the frequency of Waffles' collar, so we just have to rely on good old-fashioned detective work. But that is why she has that collar. It's for monitoring her movements. And if anyone's interested, you can have a look at the animation released by Femke on the collared cheetah. It's fascinating to watch their movements. I'm sure you'll be able to find it. I think Taylor shared it not so long ago. Really, really interesting. Now, Waffles' collar is not a GPS collar, so that would not be able to do that. But it still provides useful information. Alright. Our Waffles is not doing terribly much this morning, but we're still going to stick it out. Brent has been bouncing all over the show, and he's found more exciting things to show you.
Well, there are those lions we heard roaring on the other side of the marsh. In the no off-roading zone, you can see they're being disturbed by elephants at the moment. From this distance, I can't tell you which pride it is. I think it's probably Mara River Pride. I'm trying to see if there are any younger cubs. There look to be some youngsters around. We are quite far away from them. But the Ellies don't like lions in their territory. Now, as it gets warmer, remember we did the whole circle around the marsh with no elephants in the marsh, but as it gets warmer, those elephants are going to move down into the Samaki swamp or marsh and enjoy the lush green grass. Yes, judging from the ages of some of those cubs, I think this is definitely Mara River Pride. Very difficult to tell from this distance. Now, what I love with Ellies and lions is every now and then the elephants look like they're like, the lions are fine, the lions are fine. Then the lions move and one elephant just decides to chase them. In one case, that's a really cool shot. It is. It is an absolutely awesome shot. Even awesome enough to distract me from my bird watching. Have a look. I just think they might. When the lions move, they sometimes just change their mind and start charging. One of those lionesses is coming much closer to the road and to us. There are some eland on the other side of the road. I don't know if that's what she's looking at, or the fact that she's just tired of being chased by elephants. Or was that a young whale? No, it is an adult lioness. It does look like she's looking at the eland, unless there's something in between us. Hello, Jonathan. Jonathan's wondering if I've ever seen lions take down an elephant successfully. Yes, I have, Jonathan. I've been quite lucky. I've seen it twice, 3 times in northern Botswana. Isn't that stunning? You can see the heat haze starting to form as the day warms up. It's still pretty nippy though. I've still got my jacket on. And we've got quite a few more of the lions heading in our direction. I think they might have spotted those eland. Lindsay is asking, are elephants terrified of lions or vice versa? I'd say it completely depends on the situation. But as a normal rule, I wouldn't say they're terrified, and these animals share the ecosystem together all the time. I would say they have a very, very healthy respect. Well, lions have a very healthy respect for elephants. Elephants less so. Elephants, of course, being the massive animals that they are able to chase pretty much anything they want. I'm just trying to make sure there's not another animal apart from the eland that I'm missing. It does look like her head is up. Yeah, they're after the eland. Okay, I'm going to reposition. There's another road. Just trying to remember where it runs. Hold on. Okay. Because there is about to be a massive traffic jam and I do not want to get caught in it. These lions are heading straight for those eland. At the moment, so I need to get myself in a good position and be at the head of the snake of cars. Mambo! Nana, I agree with you, those lions do look hungry. Hold on. So we want to be on the other side of the eland, not with all the cars behind the lions. Check my tire. Tire is still okay for now. Mama, John. Just letting John from Ngama know that he should follow me, not the great crowd. So there's 2 eland. Okay, the lions have already... Yo, they're moving quickly. Hold on. Whee! Oh, bumpity, 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 bumpity. So I'm just trying to figure out, there's 2 eland bulls. Which of these 2 the lions are going to go for? Can you see the lions, Archie? Have you got them? Saw one here somewhere. So there's an eland over there, there's an eland right in front of us. And we have beaten the rush and everyone else. I think they're going, do you think they're going for this one? The close one or the second one? I can't see the lions at the moment. By that tree. Okay, I'm going to stop here now. So, it's... Okay. Let's just try and figure out where these lions are. So there's a bunch of them still on the other side of the road. That looks like the sub-adults. And there were 2 adults at least somewhere about where we are, or heading towards exactly where we are now. As I said, the problem is there are two eland bulls. There's one quite far away to the left. You see that one there on the termite mound? And there's one quite close to us on the right. Now what I'm hoping to see is that when those lions poke their heads up with the flat ears, but I can't see the lions at the moment, and a warthog apparently. Oh, behind the eland. Yes, I'm concentrating on looking, or maybe the warthog's what they're going for. Okay, now I see lines where the vehicles are, but those are not the ones up in front. There. Have you got it? Okay, you see the green mound with the two bushes?
Yeah.
Go there. There. There's one. Now where's the other? They're still probably too far away from the eland just now. So let's just wait a little bit. And the fact that there's a warthog there as well means they might be spotted. Okay, before anyone else jumps in front of us. So it looks like they're going for the eland on the left, the one furthest away from us, but closest to them, importantly. Or the warthog. They could be going for either. Now, I've found lions on eland kills quite a few times, particularly in southern Tanzania. But I've actually personally never seen a lion take down an eland. So I would definitely be up for that. So what we want to do is just get ourselves into the right spot. What do you think? You happy here, Arch? I think this is the spot. So we can see the lion and we're the closest to the eland. I say there are more lions, I'm just not sure exactly where they are. And we'll just keep an eye on the one we can see and see if another pops up. Head up, watching carefully. So they've still got quite a big distance to go to get close to those eland. Probably 100 meters, maybe even a bit more. Now the eland is actually walking towards us now. Now there are two more lionesses directly opposite me. It's a very big eland bull. Well, we'll see quickly now whether the eland is the target or the warthog. And eland's walked a little bit close to us, stopping to browse. At the moment are holding position, sort of trying to figure out what to do next. None of them are moving. There's another two lioness, or one's on the move now, heading towards us. And as I say, there's still a lioness that I lost sight of a bit earlier. I'm not sure where she disappeared to. So that's the one we've been watching. There's one moving directly opposite me. That's the one. But the eland decided something is up and is now moving away. I think it might have spotted that one we were looking at. Yep, it spotted the one that popped its head up on the termite mound, and the warthog is the only thing left. But I don't think anything's going to happen right now. We're going to sit here for a little bit longer, but let's send you across to James.
Now we are wandering down towards the valley of the great Umulawamati. We have no idea where Tundi's gone. We've given up entirely on trying to find her, frankly. We might bump into her, but we've given up on trying to find her. Let's have a look here at this interesting little tree. Well, it's not a very interesting little tree, it's a knobthorn tree, but if you come around here, you can see what has happened to it. And it is unfortunately probably not going to survive. No, it is going to survive. It's going to be fine. It's got some bark that goes all the way to the top. But what we want to look at is this here. It is within this layer that you will find the vascular tissue of this tree. The xylem and the phloem. The xylem carrying water and nutrients from the soil up to the leaves, and the phloem carrying the sugar down from the leaves, from the photosynthesis to the rest of the plant. And without this, of course, the tree cannot survive. And it's one of the reasons that knobthorn trees are so vulnerable to attack. You can see it's living. If I clear off the bits of scar tissue there. It's one of the reasons that knobthorns are so vulnerable to attack, because the bark comes off in these great big strips. Whereas a marula, if an elephant gets its tusk into a marula tree, it comes off in little chips. It will never come off in these great swathes like it does for the acacias, or for this particular acacia. Now I'm going to eat some. It's quite bitter. But the inner bark is actually really nice. It's like a sort of, I suppose, how would you describe it? A meaty chewing gum, I suppose would be the best way to describe it. It's not delicious, Kirsten, but it's not too bad. Right, let's carry on. Down into the valley of the great Umulawamati. I see some bones up ahead. Let's go and investigate them. Crime scene. It's quite a big skull. It was a buffalo, and its bones have been scattered all over the place by hyenas. Here we go. Let's just take this and put it here. I don't really want to touch these bones, although I'm 99% sure it'll be absolutely fine. You've just got to be a little bit careful of things like rabies. Remember the days when we used to have buffalo here, everybody, and the Nkuhumas used to come and hunt them? Well, this was a very old buffalo that the Nkuhumas hunted. And I think that this carcass has now been here roughly 2 years. Okay, so it's a roughly 2-year-old carcass, and we can see that obviously there's no more meat or sinew or anything else on it, and that the bone is still relatively integrous. In other words, it hasn't started falling apart yet. But you can see over the course of 2 years, finally, the keratophagous moths have started eating away the horn. And nothing else out here can make use of keratin. Only the keratophagous moth. Now, I wonder if we couldn't open this up. Chris, you say, wow, that's cool. Yes, it is very cool, isn't it? That's all that's going on here. I thought maybe there might be some stingless bees when I saw these, but they're actually just old keratophagous moth pupa. So this is what the pupa looks like. I'm pretty sure there's nothing in here. And I'm pretty sure there's nothing in here because it's the winter. Or we're just coming out of winter. If I peel it open, you can see that it's made of very fine frass, which is a caterpillar's dung, and a really fine weaving of silk, And it's in there that the caterpillar would have pupated and become another moth. I don't know what they look like as adults. I think they're pretty nondescript little brown things. And they'll fly off and lay their eggs on something else like this, I suppose. What is that?
Is this one
Another one? Where? Here? What are you looking at, Senzo? This thing?
Yeah.
Yes. Same things. These ones even older and more silky. I wonder also if there haven't been some termites having a go at this. Perhaps. I don't think they would have got any nutrition from it. It actually does look like termites.
Did you think you're on a
No, I don't. Maybe. Senzo is assuming you all speak Zulu, of course, which you don't. Most of you, he says, do I not think that it's the same thing that has done this. I don't think it's the moths that have done that. Maybe it is. You think so, eh?
Yeah.
Senzo reckons it's the moths that's done it. Fan, you say Senzo's camera work is awesome. It is indeed, as are his linguistic skills, of course. Senzo, there are not many Zulu people watching this show, I don't think. But it is such a beautiful language, and it's always nice to hear it heard spoken by an actual Zulu, as opposed to a hacker like me. All right. Let's continue, and we're going to go to Jamie, and guess who she's got? No prizes anymore for guessing where we're going with Jamie.
I've got Waffles, who is almost invisible in her little private splash pool. We're probably going to leave her shortly because I have to, very sadly, go and meet up with the hyena researchers to say goodbye. For now, I'm going to, of course, give them a very stern talking to about updating me when they finally determine what sex Waffles' cubs are. And of course, I want updates on all the North Clan members. I want to know when Elsie has her cubs. I want to know everything that happens. So it won't be goodbye forever, but I will have to depart shortly from Waffles to start making my way there. So much to do, so much to pack. Then I have to go back to camp and say goodbye to some of the staff members, who I won't get to see when I leave at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Oh, melancholic. Pippin, moving on to happier subjects slightly, you want to know how heavy that collar is. I'm not going to mince words, it's surprisingly heavy. It is actually, I mean, if you've ever had, you can imagine, it's got a transmitter, it's got batteries in there. It is quite heavy. It probably weighs around about 2 kilograms or so, maybe a bit less. Maybe 1.5 kilograms. That's quite substantial for a collar. However, it's something that she quite happily lives with. I mean, these are powerful animals who can be kicked by a zebra and happily carry on as normal. They walk around on 3 legs. They walk around with half an ear. They're very, very resilient animals. So it's nothing that causes her distress or discomfort. Or at least she doesn't give any sign that it does. It's fitted quite tightly, surprisingly tightly, and it can be a bit disturbing for those who are unfamiliar with tracking collars. If you've never seen a tracking collar put on an animal before, it seems uncomfortably tight, but there's a very good reason for that. It needs to be close to her skin so that she doesn't catch it on a branch or something like that and actually accidentally strangle herself. So it's very important that that collar is fitted snugly around the animal's neck. Now, obviously, we talk a lot about non-interference, and that is the ultimate goal. However, research like this really pays dividends for understanding the way that animals work and how to protect them and how to conserve them. The more we know about them, the better we can handle problems like, for example, conflict with human beings. Now, Waffles lives in a clan that's very far from the boundary of the triangle. But, for example, the researched Talek clan wander into the neighboring community almost every single night. And it's important to be able to keep track of those sorts of things. So the research really, really does pay off. Once it's possible to remove that collar, it will be removed. But the collars teach us an immense amount, in the same way that the collared cheetah in the group of 5 gave us some really valuable, and I mean us, I'm talking us plural as in human beings, some invaluable information into cheetah movements, things that we haven't understood necessarily in the past. But what's really surprised me is how much our constant presence with certain animals has benefited with the information that we've been able to pass on. Simple things, like telling Elena from the Mara Meru Cheetah Project that the cheetah always sleep huddled together when they're going to go to sleep properly at night. Whereas if they lie spread out on their sides, then it means they're going to move once again. Small things, little observations like that, handing on the footage, and stuff that I would have expected was widely known and accepted actually hasn't been. The fact that cheetah never sleep without a hyena hanging out about 100 meters or so from them. Not harassing them, just being there, waiting to swoop in and steal their kills when they make them. All of those little bits of information have been fascinating. And to sit and experience a natal den is something that, well, I've certainly never managed it before. We didn't have to, in that case, use her collar. She very kindly took us there of her own accord. It was starting to get to the point, though, at her 8 days after she disappeared, that I was really about to go and speak to them and ask them very kindly if we could use the telemetry to find her. We didn't need to, though. She found us. Totally invisible. The lions are still there. I've just seen a couple of safari vehicles stop and view them for a little while. So the lions are still there. You'll just have to wait until this afternoon to find out whether or not Waffles gets the chance to go back to her cubs, or if she has to just wait it out. And the little cubs will have to go hungry for today. Must have a word with them about choosing today to come and visit the den. Very inconsiderate. That's okay, at least I got to spend the morning with Waffles. Brian, you say that I need to go and find the hyena den on Djuma. I have to tell you, if there was a hyena den on Djuma, I really think that one of the other guides would have found it. I really want to, and I'm really hoping they move back when I move back there, because, you know, that's how life would work. Obviously not. But I promise you, the other guides have been really focused. I know that Tristan in particular has been really focused on searching for that other hyena den, or that an existing hyena den on Djuma. And I know that lactating females were seen. Listen, Bee, I really don't need you up my nose. Please go away. Oh, please don't sting me. I don't mind where you are. Just don't... it's got my number, this bee. It's behind me and I don't want to lean on it. Shoo. Shoo. No. Very distracting. I'm sure that they would have found it if it were on Djuma, but we just have to hope. We really have to hope that they decide to move back to Djuma. It's gone. It's making me really nervous. It's landed somewhere in the messy cavity of the vehicle. Oh boy. Oh well. I'm unfortunately not allergic to bees, so pretty unconcerned. It'll be really nice to catch up with Corky and Pretty. I think we'll have to start adopting the naming theme as well. I'm not sure how the rest of you feel about that, but it makes such total sense that we name on a theme. And Ribbon will be really easy because she's already got colours as a theme. And let's face it, my D1 and D2 and Jan and Ari, it sort of made sense at the time, but it's going to get very confusing as we go on, because of course multiple litters will be born in June and November, and Spee, It's tormenting me. Come, listen. Just settle so I can move you. Buzzing round my head. Thoroughly unimpressed with this. Where's it gone? Can hear it. I can hear it echoing. Oh, don't find yourself in my door. I'm not afraid of bees. I went through a stage in my childhood where I got stung at least 10 times a summer. So I'm not afraid of bees. I just would prefer not to have to travel with a bee sting somewhere funny, like on the back of my neck or something like that. It would be really quite offensive. I think it's gone now. I hope it's gone. Hopefully not to go and bother Waffles, although her fur is so thick, I doubt that it would sting her. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, that was mean of me. Brent is currently occupied changing the tyre that, well, didn't make it. Fortunately, James is here to hold the show and finish off your sunrise safari.
I don't have any tyres. That's the only reason I haven't burst any this morning. There is a Karachani, Karacane, Karachain thrush. Got no idea what the correct pronunciation is. I always called it Karakan until Brent started calling it Karachani, and then someone else said Karachain. I quite like Karacane. But what it is doing is looking in amongst the leaf litter there for little insects to eat. He's still there, Sins. He's just hiding behind a little log. As the light comes out, filling this glade with pretty colours. They've actually got a beautiful call. I'm going to play it for you in the hopes that it will call back. One moment, please. Jerry googled it. Apparently it's Karacane, not Karachani. Here's the sound. Isn't that nice? So pretty. It's another one of the calls that reminds me of living in Johannesburg and how much I appreciated having bird song while living in the city. There are 2 or 3 of them here, Senzo. How many can you see? 2. A couple. Let's hope that the couple is happier than the Wahlberg's eagle couple that lives not far from here. The sad Wahlberg's eagle couple that arrived here, split up, either divorced or widowed, perhaps, we don't know. Oh, it's pretty in here. Just to be quiet for a second. Woodpeckers. Chinspot battises. And I know you don't have any ambient sound, but what you can hear is the silence. There's a big bearded woodpecker feeding over there. You got it there, Sin? That is the bearded woodpecker. I read the other day that we don't have a very good representation of woodpeckers in this part of the world, nothing like you get in North America, for example. And the bearded woodpecker, our biggest example, is in fact much smaller than most of the examples you get in the United States. What a perfect little spot. I'd love to come and have a breakfast picnic here. Perhaps I shall ask Happiness to wander down with a tray of her delights. I think she'll tell me to get knotted. I certainly would tell me to get knotted. All right, everyone, that is going to be it for the Sunrise Safari. We will see you this afternoon again, of course, at 3:30. Mara and Juma. I made a mistake about Taylor. She's actually only joining us tomorrow. So until this afternoon, bye-bye.